Hey there. You've probably heard by now, Louisville is now 3-0 on the season. The Cardinals defeated Bowling Green at L&N Stadium on Saturday afternoon, 40-17. Cardinals still perfect through 3 games. Of course, it depends on how you use the word perfect, right? I mean, sure, the record is unblemished, still got a 0 on the loss column. But if you've been an observer, if you've listened to the comments from Jeff Brom and players following games, there's still work to be done to get closer to perfect. It's a pretty big gap. Miller Moss said after the 40-17 win over the Bowling Green Falcons, it's about winning while continuing to get better. Louisville's winning, and it has the opportunity to get better. What do you say we hike about it? With the plane flying overhead, makes me think of the Louisville offense. We're going to talk about the Louisville offense today. We're going to talk about the Louisville defense and the special teams. What we have coming up, we're going to grade each phase of the game. Dish out a grade for offense, dish out a grade for defense, dish out a grade for special teams. In addition to that, as I mentioned in my last Let's Hike video, I'm going to reassess my preseason projections. I had Louisville going 10-2. After 3 games, they're still undefeated at 3-0. Do I still feel good with 10-2? So we'll get into that. And we'll talk a little Pittsburgh coming up for the Cardinals this Saturday noon up in Pittsburgh. Cardinals beginning ACC play with a road game against the Panthers. All that coming up on Let's Hike with Michael McCammon. Why I continue to make my way to the top of this ridge. Someone asked about my hat. You like that? It's brand new. Maybe a couple of you or more have one just like it. Where did I get it? Street Fest. Card March. You know, they've got all the bunch of vendors in there giving things away or letting you try to win something. Kentucky Farm Bureau, on what was Ag Day for Louisville football, was giving away what they call farmer hats. I like it. It's a reason to get to Street Fest and Card March. Get a reward. All right, let me get to the top of this and we'll talk some Louisville football. Final day of summer. Boy, it was a hot one at L&N Stadium on Saturday afternoon. Getting into the low 90s. The humidity was up there. Good on all y'all that sat out there and cheered Louisville on to its 3rd victory in 3 tries. Speaking to a couple recruits that were visiting, a couple commitments that were visiting, the reaction from said recruits is pretty positive. One, and I'm paraphrasing here, basically said the fans brought it. They were there from kickoff and were loud throughout. Made it an exciting game, even though it was a blowout win for the Cardinals. Close paraphrase quote from the Louisville commit. Good job, Card Nation. Offensively, Louisville put up over 400 yards of offense. Miller Moss threw for over 300 yards for the first time in his very brief Louisville career, now just 3 games old. Colin Lacey, 97 yards receiving on 8 catches. The offense was without star running back Isaac Brown. He had 1 carry for 18 yards and his day was done. Of course, didn't know how much he would play coming into the game as the program announced that Brown, Duke Watson, who did not play, and Chris Bell had been limited in practice all week. Chris Bell fought through it, had 5 receptions. Solid game from him. Tight ends, at least in the passing game, not that impactful. Jaleel Skinner with a catch. Offensive line, though, giving up some sacks. At times, Miller Moss didn't even seem like he knew they were coming, which is a problem with both the quarterback and the offensive line. After the game, I asked Jeff Brom about the offensive line, and the short answer is we got to clean things up. We heard that after Eastern Kentucky. We heard that against James Madison, after James Madison, and now we hear it after Bowling Green. There are signs that they've cleaned some things up, but then you still have some penalties that negated some big plays. And again, the sacks, the consistent entrance into the Louisville backfield by the Bowling Green defense, just too often. Thus, it was consistent. For their performance, and again, without Isaac Brown or Duke Watson, but for their performance against Bowling Green, I'm gonna give the offense a B-. Not too harsh? What do you think? Let me know in the comments. So the defense. The Cardinals entered their 3rd game of the season ranked number 1 in sacks per game with 1.75 sacks per game. Against Bowling Green, which did feature a quarterback that was consistently moving, making it more of a challenge, but the Cardinals didn't have any sacks against didn't sack the Falcons quarterback at all. Got a couple tackles for a loss on keepers, but no sacks. Not that big of an issue for one game. You don't want that to become the norm, and I don't think it will. But the defense did give up some big plays, kind of a bend, don't break. You had Antonio Watts grab his first career interception on a pass that it looked like if it was thrown a little bit higher over Antonio's reach, that it would have been a touchdown. D'Angelo Hutchinson also with an interception that ended a drive. And Bowling Green got a couple 4th quarter touchdowns when reserves were playing to make it sound like it was closer than it was. But Louisville, again, did give up some points. They did give up some yardage, had a bend but don't break. But overall, not that I want to call it a bad performance, but it was, how should we say this? The 3rd best performance of the defense this season through 3 games. They displayed that improvement can be made. But at this point, still feeling pretty good about the defense. For their performance against the Falcons, the defense gets a B+. Special teams. Were they special or what against Bowling Green? Sure, Colin Lacey had a punt that was fumbled and recovered by Bowling Green that led to their first points of the game, a field goal. But after that, obviously Colin Lacey recovered from that to score on a 75 punt return for a score. Looked like he almost had another one later in the game. Also very solid returning kickoffs. And as I mentioned in the offense, had 97 yards receiving. Not that that should count with special teams, but Colin Lacey just lit it up on special teams. The guy is somebody that opposing teams should just not punt to. I mean, but let's hope that they do continue. And then the kickers. You've got Cooper Ranvier, who first time kicking for the Cardinals this year. He's now 6 for 6 on the season after hitting 3. What were they, 20, 42, and 48 against Bowling Green. So now again, 6 for 6 on the season. The first Louisville field goal kicker to convert their first six field goals in their career. Congratulations to Cooper. And then Jeff Brom also sent in Nick Keller. Big leg Nick Keller. Is that his nickname? Because I just gave it to him. Comes in and just connects on a 57-yard field goal. No big deal. New school record, new L&N Stadium record. Broke the record of Brock Travelstead, who had previously set at 56 yards at Notre Dame. Congratulations to those two kickers. So when you consider what Colin Lacey did and what those two kickers did, special teams, I'm giving you an A+, even with the fumble. What fumble? I don't remember a fumble. We decided Louisville just wanted to spot Bowling Green 3 points. A+ for the special teams. So preseason, I projected that Louisville would go 10-2 during the regular season. I had the losses at Miami and at home against Clemson. After 3 games, how are we feeling about the Cardinals? Chances of winning 10 games in the regular season? And how are we feeling about the Louisville schedule at this point? I mean, speaking of Clemson, they're sitting in last place in the ACC, currently at 1-3 overall. Dabo Swinney losing his mind. Clemson faithful losing their minds. If they continue to lose, will they still continue to come down on the field and gather? Speaking of the Clemson fans. Let's watch and see. But back to the point, I had Louisville 10-2 preseason. The ACC, now that things have gotten underway, some of the teams like Clemson that looked like they were going to be the favorite to win the ACC certainly aren't looking that part now. Tigers already 2 losses in conference play. Georgia Tech on the road, and most recently at home against Syracuse. And it wasn't even close against the Orange. So how are we feeling? First up, how are we feeling about the Cardinals? With what they have on their schedule, can they win 10 games? I think so. I think they should beat Clemson. I still think they're going to fall at Miami, who's looking even more difficult, even better than I anticipated. I expected them to be a top 10 team, and they're certainly that. We'll see how their season progresses before Louisville goes down to Miami Gardens and plays them at Hard Rock Stadium. First up, Louisville to Pitt. Cardinals, the early odds, FanDuel has it as Louisville at 6.5-point favorite. ESPN FPI has Louisville gives Louisville like a 57% chance of winning that. That has now become a game that I'm more concerned about now than I was a few weeks ago. The Panthers 2-1. They're coming off a loss to West Virginia. They're going to have an open game. They had an open week ahead of Louisville. They had blowout victories over Duquesne, Central Michigan, I believe it was. So I'm not sure how much we know about the Panthers yet. West Virginia beat them. I think it was a 7-point game, like 31-24, I think it was, something in that neighborhood. And that was coming after West Virginia losing to Ohio, period. No state behind that, just Ohio. So now in the depths of the Scotts Gap Trail, where the sun has disappeared. It's a little darker, a little more. It's getting that time of year. It's a little spooky down here. Any ghouls and goblins? But the Pittsburgh game is one that I'm a little more concerned about now than I was previously. I had Louisville as, I think my projection was a 1-point winner during the preseason when they traveled down to Dallas to play SMU. The Mustangs not looking at this point as difficult of an outing as initially thought, but certainly a good opponent and will be a challenge to win in Dallas. Cardinals don't have Georgia Tech on the schedule. The Cardinals don't have Florida State on the schedule. Cardinals don't have Syracuse on the schedule. With Clemson looking down, and who knows what kind of a mess they could be in by the time they come to L&N Stadium. Virginia Tech has already canned Brent Pry, so who knows what that place is going to look like when the Cardinals get there for Halloween weekend. So while I have some reservations about what we've seen from Louisville thus far, and again, Louisville's strength of schedule to this point, nothing to boast about. And as the ACC play has begun, there's not much to boast about on the schedule ahead. You've got Miami. Pitt should be a challenge. Any road game's a challenge. So are 10 wins still possible? Absolutely. They only have 7 more to go there. I've already got 3 under their belt. But certainly the more difficult wins are still to come for the Cardinals. But from what I've seen, I'm not comfortable still saying 10-2. Following the James Madison game, I kept it there. I think I said just barely. Well, we're going down a notch. My new projection is 9-3. I still think the Cardinals will lose to Miami. And I'm not sure where to peg the other 2 losses at this point that I'm now projecting. As I said, road games are difficult. Could come this weekend in Pittsburgh. Could still happen in Dallas. Could happen at any week. You got to show up and you got to play. Has one of these 3 games that Louisville has won already, was that the clunker for the season? I'd like to hope so. Not sure it was though. But I'm not sure. Well, I'm going to put a pin on the Miami game as an eventual loss for the Cardinals. And I'm now projecting 3 losses instead of 2. Not exactly sure to pinpoint those losses. If forced, I'd probably say Pittsburgh and SMU. Those 2 road trips, along with the trip down to Miami Gardens to play the Hurricanes, would be the losses. Hope I'm wrong. I look at the schedule and I think if Louisville plays to its potential, they're still a 10-2 team. I think if they play to their potential, they could be an 11-1 team. So my hope is, from what we see at Pittsburgh, and I'm following the Cardinals up there, will boost the confidence of the onlookers and the Card Nation fan base. As Miller Moss put it, win while you continue to get better. That's got to be the goal for Louisville. So it's all ACC opponents from here until Kentucky comes into L&N Stadium for the last game of the regular season, so the Cardinals can beat up on them and hang on to the Governor's Cup. But what happens between now and that game, it's difficult to guess from what we've seen. Looking forward to learning a lot more when the Cardinals play the Panthers on Saturday. Jefferson Memorial Forest is a collection of former private lands. As I understand it, it's been pieced together and could be an ongoing effort. And so you'll occasionally come across, look, an old car sitting here along the Scotts Gap Trail. This is us to the parking lot. So let's do a quick recap. Offense, B-. Defense, B+. Special teams, A+. Well done. Keep that up. We'll review each of those after the Pitt game. Don't mind if I have a quick seat. I've done just over 4.64 miles, and I've done some back and forth, so that's not an accurate descriptor of how long this loop trail is, which they describe as 3.3 miles. But hey, I appreciate you going hiking with me. If you haven't yet, go ahead and feel free to subscribe. Feel free to like it. Feel free to share it. For those of you that have, I appreciate it. It helps the channel quite a bit. Again, my picks and a lot of pregame coverage, including Jeff Brom's preview and his thoughts on the team as they begin prep work for the trip to Pittsburgh. All that at CardinalAuthority.com. Again, appreciate you going hiking with Michael McCammon.